Hey, what's up guys? This is Ironhide X, and today I'm going to be doing a guide on the mighty Großer Kurfürst, that tier 10 German mite of a battleship. Um, I love this ship. This thing is great. It has some flaws, it has some weaknesses, but its strengths are amazing. So that's being said, let's get right into it. So first off, the most important thing about a ship is the captain. And for my Großer Kurfürst, here are my captain skills that I use. The build that I think is best in the Kurfürst is by far the secondary build. This is the one I prefer the most because I prefer to be very aggressive in this ship and get right in people's faces and let these secondaries go to work. So tier 1, I use priority target, which is the best skill for battleships in my opinion. Some people say preventative maintenance because they think it helps with the secondaries, but that only actually helps you guys at 30% risk of incapacitation of modules. That only helps for modules that can be repaired. So like your main gun turrets, your rudder, your engine, things that just don't get knocked out enough in battleships for that to be worth it. It does nothing at all to protect your secondaries or your A mounts or anything like that. So in battleships, I prefer priority target. For number 2, my favorite number 2 skill on almost any ship, adrenaline rush. That thing, it just gives you a straight damage increase. It increases the reload time on your main turrets, on your secondaries. There's no other tier 2 skill that matches Adrenaline Rush. I can't think of a single ship I don't have that on, and the Kurfürst is no exception. Definitely want Adrenaline Rush. And then I use High Alert because we are going to a secondary build. Just gives you that damage control party back 10% quicker, which you'll be needing if you're playing aggressive. You'll be getting hit by torpedoes and getting set on fire a lot. So you're definitely going to want High Alert. For number 3, the third tier of skills, Superintendent. You're going to want that extra heal, that extra sonar, maybe even the extra catapult fighters. Superintendent, in my opinion, is a must-have for battleships. Some people say, oh, I don't really ever use the 4 of them, but I definitely do use all 4, so or all 5. So getting that Superintendent is really important. Now, for the ultimate secondary build, you're going to want basic firing training, advanced firing training, and most important of all, manual fire control for secondary armament. This one massively increases your dispersion, or decreases your dispersion, so you hit what you're aiming at much more often. Without that, the secondaries will look real fancy, they'll be shooting everywhere, but they won't really be hitting that much. But with that on, ships will fear you even all the way out to 10.6 kilometers. So definitely very important to have that. And as a bright side, a second benefit of this is you also have the best AA possible, because the AA skills sync up perfectly with the secondary skills. So not only we have these amazing secondaries, you'll also have decent AA. So there's my Kurfürst captain build. Now let's go take a look at the modules. So here we go. We take a look at my Kurfürst modules. For slot number 1, I use Auxiliary Armaments Modification 1, which gives you, most important of all, 100% secondary battery survivability. Very important, otherwise you'll end up losing your secondaries and your AA. It also gives you 100% AA. You'll be losing them quite often, but with that, it's not as bad. For the second slot, I use Secondary Battery Modification 2, sorry. The most important thing of this one is that it gives you 20% maximum firing range on your secondary battery and lets you get out to 10.6. Without that one, you're just not quite as effective. And another big bonus is it gives you 20% maximum dispersion, or minus 20% maximum dispersion on your secondary battery. So that's definitely the way to go if you're running this type of build, which is what I think is the best build for this ship by far. For the third slot, Main Battery Modification 3. Now you could potentially put on the secondary one also. There's a third one for secondary, but I prefer to have the minus 12% loading time on my main guns, because those are where most of your damage is going to come from. So that's the only thing I sacrifice to take away from, I should say, with the secondary batteries. And then for the 4th slot, damage control system mod 1. For the 5th slot, steering gears, very important. This ship, one of its weaknesses is it's kind of sluggish. It does not handle well. It doesn't turn well. So cutting down that rudder shift time is very important. And the last one is your detectability range, your concealment system mod 1. While it doesn't help a whole lot because this is just such a big ship, it does help quite a bit. But with this last one, there could be an argument to be made to go with target acquisition so you can spot torpedoes farther out. But, you know, I just prefer to be a little more stealthy. Not that this is ever a very stealthy ship. As far as putting on spotter aircraft or catapult, you already have a 21 kilometer or 20.6 kilometer gun range. That's far enough. I don't really ever see a need for spotting aircraft. Catapult fighters, on the other hand, can potentially end up saving your ship. So I think catapults are definitely the way to go. And then, of course, your hydro, which I highly recommend using Hydro Search 2 at least, because that is your single greatest benefit when you get in close, pushing into a cap or something. That can really save you whenever torpedoes are coming at you from hidden destroyers and whatnot, or cruisers that launch torpedoes at you. So there's my captain skills, and there's my modules I use on the ship. So let's talk about the ship itself. It has 2 gun options, 420s and 406s. Now, statistically speaking, the 406s are superior in every way other than they have less pin at long range. But at short range, they have greater penetration actually than the 420s. They turn faster, they reload quicker. They do 800 less damage on an AP shell citadel and 200 less damage on an HE shell hit citadel. But overall, their damage is practically the same. So why am I using the 420s? Just because they're 420s and bigger's better. They're not in any way better in this case, but I know wargaming, and a lot of times they have stuff that you don't know about or hidden things that you just, there's no telling. And I just really feel more comfortable myself using the 420s, even though I know, looking at the numbers, the 406s are superior. But again, it's just me, myself. I feel better using the 420s. But again, 406s are statistically superior. Me and my friends, my buddies, talk about this quite a bit, about how I use the 420s when the 406s are better guns. But again, it's just, I feel better with them, so that's why I use them. Now, as far as the armor, this is classic German armor with the turtleback, extremely thick. This ship, you will not have to worry about Yamato citadeling you from the front, unless they can somehow get through this slight sliver right here. But generally speaking, when you're at close range against Yamatos, they will not penetrate your front. This thing is a tank. There's no doubt about it. Keep a good angle at ships, and they're not going to citadel you. Unless it's a Yamato shooting at you at 22 kilometers or something, you don't have to worry about a citadel. That being said, if you go broadside, you still, of course, will be punished if a higher tier battleship shoots at you. So you still need to be using your angles. But overall, this is the most armored tier 10 battleship in the game. Nothing can citadel you easily at short range. This thing is the brawling king. It's got amazing guns. Now onto its top speed. It has a top speed of 30 knots, so it's really fast. Like I said, one of its big downfalls, though, is its maneuverability. Even with the modules and whatnot, it still has a 15-second rudder shift time and a 1,050 meter turning circle. So you're not going to be winning any ballet dances in this ship. That is its one big weakness, is that it's real sluggish. There's no doubt about it. But It has hydro that can detect torpedoes at 4 kilometers away. So even though it is more sluggish, you can work around that. And this is still an extraordinarily powerful ship. So about the Kurfürst armor, guys, here we are. I loaded up a training room, and I'm in my Yamato, and I loaded up a bunch of Kurfürst to shoot at, just so I could show you how your armor is going to hold up, and how big of a deal armor angling makes. And I'm also going to show you, if you're facing a Kurfürst, where to shoot it at. So if you look here, just a bunch of cycling through shots here. I'm shooting at Kurfürst angled at longer range. Um, Throughout my training rooms, I shot at Kurfürst at ranges from 26 kilometers down to 1. At no point, even in the Yamato, with the strongest, most powerful guns in the game, could I citadel a Kurfürst. So you don't have to worry about that. That being said, showing broadside like you see here, that's when you're going to start to get punished for it. Now, it's not as bad as if it was another tier 10 battleship, because you won't get citadeled, and since it's not a citadel, you can actually heal a lot of that damage back. But you still don't want to show broadside. But again, you are not going to get citadeled in this ship. Now, if you are on a different ship and you want to hurt a Kurfürst, where you want to aim, guys, is not at the waterline. You want to aim about flush with the deck. As you'll see here in the next few shots, not this one. This is just showing that you can't citadel even under the... Now, you'll take damage, but not citadel damage. But now, to shoot a Kurfürst, guys, you don't want to shoot there. You want to shoot flush with the deck. Right in here, this next shot, this is where you want to shoot a Kurfürst. Right there. That's where you'll get the max damage. That's where you're going to get the big money hits. So while it's not a citadel, it might as well be for as much damage as you're going to do. Here we go again. Another flush with the deck. Massive damage. That, guys, that's where you want to shoot a Kurfürst. Now, here's Kurfürst angled at very short range. 0 damage. Again, I did nothing. He just looked at me like I was stupid. Again, short range, angled Kurfürst, nothing. If you want to damage a Kurfürst, guys, you gotta aim flush with the deck, even while angled such as this. And you'll see here, this is how you damage Kurfürst, guys. And when you are playing a Kurfürst, you know what to avoid now. So as you've seen in that last video, guys, angling is a really big deal. Most players you're going to face are going to be shooting your hull. Most players will not actually be shooting your flush with your deck like that. So when you angle that ship, it massively increases your survivability. I really can't stress that enough. Now, whenever you're playing a Kurfürst, I loaded up my Kurfürst here with a bunch of different targets. Give you some little tips with these guns. These are very punchy guns. Aim right, like this here's a cruiser, aim right at the waterline, and you're just going to crush them. This thing will overmatch every cruiser in the game. Just aim for the citadels, pretty much regardless of angle, and this thing is going to severely punish ships. You cannot overmatch the bows of tier 10 battleships, but especially against a Kurfürst. But against a Yamato, there is a little trick you can do if he's just slightly angled, where he's not perfectly nose onto you, which I'll show you here in a minute. But as you can see, against any battleship at any range, you catch them broadside, you will absolutely crush them. Doesn't matter the range, as long as it's not an enemy Kurfürst. These guns are very effective. You'll have no problem citadeling battleships at all. And cruisers, they're like a hot knife through butter, guys. Again, like I was saying earlier, the 406s are statistically better. There really is no difference in the overmatch mechanic whether you use the 420s or the 406s. So really just put that as your personal preference, which one you prefer. The 420s do actually have greater penetration at long distances. So if at ranges, let's say over 14, 15 kilometers, the 420s actually will outperform the 406s at that range, because they carry that penetration over a longer distance. Alright guys, so whenever you run into a cruiser that's bow on, look at this shot right here. This is how you're going to want to shoot a cruiser that's bow on to you to still citadel them. You don't want to aim for the superstructure. You want to overmatch their bow and aim right there. Just aim right low like that on the thing, and that's how you citadel cruisers that are staying bow onto you. And then also for a Yamato, now the hole on the Yamato at the front under its rear turrets, it has a slight bulge. So when a Yamato is bow onto you also, you can still penetrate the Yamato's bow because of the way their hull is shaped. So if you look right here, this is how you citadel a Yamato's bow when he's bow on and he's just at a slight angle. Right there into that turret in that bulge. There's a right there where I aimed at. That's how you citadel a Yamato from the front when he's angled towards you. Don't aim for the rear hull or don't aim for the nose. You want to go right there into those turrets. But the more straight on he is to you, the harder that'll be. But I just wanted to show that it is possible to citadel a Yamato when he's as a hard angle to you by shooting into those front turrets.
Bullseye. Nice work.
Alright guys, so you remember me telling you about how if you go secondary spec you also have decent AA. I went ahead and queued up a couple games real quick against some tier 10 carriers just to show you kind of what you can expect versus a non-secondary build Kurfürst. The AA is vastly improved. So first up here is against the tier 10 midway. This is pretty much what you can expect whenever you are attacked by one in game. Again, this is a training room. In game, you may have ships around you or a friendly carrier helping you, so it could potentially be better. However, in game against a player, they're going to drop a lot better than this, computer-controlled carrier did. But still, you can get an idea of how effective the AA is, and what you can expect when you encounter them in game. And again, this is the tier 10 midway planes. You can see he almost lost his torpedo squadron there. Then you want to, obviously guys, whenever you're being attacked by planes, you want to hold down control and then left click on the planes like you see him doing there, because that increases your AA effectiveness against that particular target, and definitely focus fire those torpedo planes. Another benefit, remember what I was telling you about to go the catapult fighter instead of the scouting plane? My little catapult fighter actually ends up tying up his fighter squad and lets my AA really rip into them, which is a big deal. My little fighter here actually he hung out like a champ. And here we are versus a tier 10 Hakuryu, the Japanese tier 10 carrier. Again, just to give you another idea of how your AA is going to fare against them. So again, they can't just ignore you. They can't just keep their planes over you without fear of losing their squads. They have to strike you and get out. They can't loiter, or your AA is good enough to chop them up. You'll chop up some of their planes coming in. So while you may not stop a drop completely, you will at least minimize it where it doesn't do quite as much. He's going to lose planes, and of course as the match progresses and other planes are with you and cruisers and whatnot, he could potentially run out of planes. So that being said, guys, there's armor, firepower, angles, how the AA works. Now let's see it all in a real battle. I'm going to queue up a real battle here. I did last night with my good buddy Swoljet, and we'll see how this thing works in game. Alright guys, so here we are. I'm in a 3-man tier 10 division. On this map I like to head to A generally, and it's important if you go to A on this map, guys, to not just go there and sit there. You got to push through, otherwise you kind of become a detriment to your team. But our plan is to go up into A, kill anything that's there, and then push through and then come out around it onto the flanks of the enemy. And if they send enough ships there to stop us, then we'll tie them up while the rest of our team caps the other two caps and comes around and gets on their flank, hopefully. You're going to see some great team play up in here with the Minotaur here in just a second. And just a lot of the strengths of the Kurfürst you see put to use. Whenever y'all are playing tier 10 ships, it really does help a lot, guys, if you get into a division with voice comms. Not only does it make the game just a lot more fun, you can coordinate things just a lot better than you can otherwise. But make no mistake, the Kurfürst is just fine if you want to just solo pub stomp. It can do that just fine. It's just, you'll find that you'll have a much easier time at tier 10 if you division up. But again, I solo it all the time as well, so it's no big deal if you don't, but it really does help quite a bit. So against all these ships here at the angle that I'm taking, nothing really I'm too concerned about crossing, like going towards A. My biggest threat actually is that Shimakaze. He would be who I'd worried about the most, and then next to torpedoes, you know, torpedo boats would be the any flame-throwing cruisers. Those are more concerned to me in this ship than enemy battleships. Now you see here, my buddy Soldier there in a Moskva, we're going to both turn right and start angling away so we can get a shot at this smoke cloud that's up here. There's actually a Minotaur that was shooting at us, and I actually didn't see the smoke cloud, but my buddy did, and so we angled out, and what we're going to do is we're going to wait. Now he's going to wait for me to get my guns on target, and you'll see me aim at the smoke, and then I'm going to say, okay, I'm ready, and then he's going to hit his radar right now, and while I'm sitting here waiting for that radar to pop so I can nuke this this Minotaur. And blap. Oh, that Minotaur got to be cursing life at that moment. So our third platoon mate is in a Shimakaze, so we were going to hit the brakes here and potentially use that smoke depending on what was going on. A lot of their team was shooting at us at the moment, but it was nothing too big. It's kind of what we expected. And now it's just all about just trying to get as much damage as possible. Use the strengths of your ship, keep angled, and putting out that firepower. You do ideally, again, want to get within 10.6 kilometers so your secondaries can go to work. You see them firing off there. And now I'm just looking for targets. I'm looking for broadside ships, stuff I can do the most damage to. They're actually shooting at my Moskva more than me at the moment because they don't like flamethrowers. And here comes our Shimakaze to smoke us up. When facing a bunch of ships like this, like battleships and whatnot, again, they're really not the big threat. What I would really like to kill would be that cruiser who could potentially burn me down. Fire can be a real big threat to the Kurfürst. I think because fire is the damage it does is percentage based. So the more hit points you have, the more damage it'll do. So letting one fire tick could potentially end up costing you like 20,000 hit points, something like that. And then flooding is also a big deal. A single flood on a tier 10 Kurfürst, if you were to just pop your repair, for instance, and then let it flood out for the full duration, it will cost 75,000 points of damage to the Kurfürst. So fires, because of that risk of flooding, fires, if it's a single fire, I just let it burn. I don't ever repair a single fire unless it's where I know I won't be taking any more fires or torpedoes. Other than that, always let a single fire burn, because if you get hit by a torpedo and you're on your repair is on cooldown, again, it can do up to 75,000 damage. So very important for your repair party to know when to use it and when to hold it, because you definitely don't want to get hit with a torpedo. And I'll punish in the North Carolina Citadel. Now I decided to push out. My Moskva's going to stay in the smoke. My Shimmy's going to lay a torp wall in front of me. This is what the Kurfürst does best, pushing into ships, soaking up damage, and just dealing out tons of damage at the same time. And you've got enough armor and enough hit points, and your repair party is so good that you can do this. It can survive these hits. It's not a big problem. In other ships, battleships and whatnot, you need to be more careful. In this thing, because your armor is so good and you don't have to worry about citadels, you can make mistakes. So it's a real new player-friendly ship in that you can make mistakes in this, and it's probably not going to send you back to port. So anyways, guys, at this point in the game, we own all 3 caps. We've already pretty much demolished the enemy team. The rest of our team is obviously dominated on B and C, and this is pretty much just a wrap at this point. Oh, poor Yamato. Anyway, guys, this is Ironhide X. I hope you enjoyed my review of the Kurfürst. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. There should be a link popping up any second now here on the screen. Just click that and subscribe. Again, if you have any requests, comments, please leave them here in the comments section or send me a message. You can also check me on the World of Warships forums. Just go to the game guides section of the forums. You'll see a bunch of links from Ironhide X. You can post on any one of those, or you can just message me on the forums. And if you see me in game, say hello. You know, if I'm not platoon, send me a platoon invite. I'm always open to it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.